I think religion's greatest trick wasn't convincing some people that there was a God who was all-powerful. It was convincing everyone else that you couldn't ridicule that idea. It's when you get them. I think there'd be more atheists and less faithful if you weren't allowed to teach anything, you weren't allowed to mention any gods or any beliefs or atheism, right, until they were 20. I think we'd see a different pattern. The human brain, when it's young, is a sponge. It has to be. It has to take in all the information. It has to trust its parents, its elders, to survive. Without question, don't touch the fire. Why not? Don't go near the wolf. Don't touch that spider with a red bit. Don't touch that. Why not? Just don't. There is a God. What? There is a God. And if you're bad, you go to hell. Okay? And if that's constantly confirmed, like all the other things, wolves eat you, black widows kill you, fires burn you, if it's given that same level of credence and truth, you're never going to get over it. It's going to be a lot harder to undo that. I think the myths came up, maybe, often as a stopgap to knowledge until we find out more. The Earth is flat, and no, we've proved now, okay, the Earth's not flat, we were wrong, okay? But that's not personal. You don't take that personally. It doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect your afterlife, And so they often want to hold on to that, right? But only because of the way they've been conditioned. We know it's fun to tell children there's a Santa Claus, and there's fairies at the bottom of the garden, and all these cute things. It's cute till they're 7 or 8. If they're 34, it's a bit embarrassing socially. This is my son. What's he doing? He's looking for fairies. Is he? Okay, we better leave. If you're born in India, you're probably a Hindu. If you're born in America, you're probably a Christian. If you're born in Pakistan, you're probably a Muslim. That's a coincidence, isn't it? That you're always born into the right God. Always. Isn't that lucky? I was born under the right God. All those others are going to hell. But I was born into the right religion. I'm going to heaven. It's strange that we hold on to these sort of medieval beliefs. Where did the universe come from? God made it. Which doesn't solve the problem for me. Because we straight away say, well, who made God? And if they say, well, he's always been around, well, let's just say the universe has then. Let's just cut out the middleman. It saves time. We're all born atheist, and then that gets changed or enhanced. I mean, there shouldn't even be a word for atheism. It shouldn't exist. Shouldn't need it. There's not a word for not believing in fairies, And if people didn't keep inventing these weird, impossible deities, we wouldn't have to go around denying them. It's a matter of degrees. If you go around feeling good because whatever life throws at you, it'll all be okay in heaven, that's great. Doesn't affect anyone. Fine. If you pray that you'll do well at work, and then you try hard and do well at work, and you believe it was the praying, fine. We know it wasn't. We know the praying was irrelevant. We know praying without actually doing anything doesn't do anything. Praying and then working towards something. Praying to me is like making a list. That's all it does. It may even motivate you. It may even, it's getting your thoughts clear. Thinking there's someone hearing you and changing stuff, that's something else. But again, it's still not harmful. But if you start doing crazy stuff because God's telling you to, that affects me. I've got to stop you there. And if someone goes around saying there is a God and bad people go to hell, fine, doesn't affect me. If they go on saying there is a God and bad people go to hell, I'm going to help God send them to hell by stoning them to death. Whoa, he doesn't need your help. He's all powerful. Chill out. God's got this one. I think it's very important you challenge your own beliefs. I mean that's what science does, really. It doesn't constantly try and prove itself right. It follows the evidence, whatever that is. In fact, it tries to prove itself wrong. It doesn't sulk. When science thinks something and then it discovers it was wrong, it doesn't sulk because it found that out too. It's the question I often get, that people say, well, you're an atheist, you're closed-minded. Well, no, I'm not. That's a strange thing to say. I think the opposite is true. I'm going to always follow the evidence, whatever that is. And they say things like, if someone proved to you God existed, would you believe? Well, of course I would, by definition. In fact, it would be the greatest scientific discovery of all time. Scientists would celebrate. They'd run round. At the moment, we have no evidence for the existence of any God or anything supernatural. Never have. Possibly never will. But who knows? We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. When someone puts forward a jar of God, we'll test it for its godliness. And if we find there's anything godly in it, we'll write it down. I get asked questions like, well, what do you think it feels like when you're dead? And I always say, well, what did it feel like for the billions of years before you were born? Like that. And there's also this strange thing that I get from faithful people. Why don't you believe in God? Well, that's a very strange question. Why don't you believe in God? Well, you came up with it. Why would I? As to saying I don't know, well, if you're agnostic about God in all his glory and in all his impossibility, you've got to be the same about Santa. You have got to say, I don't know. I want to say to an agnostic, what's your best guess there? Go on, have a punt. In fact, I don't ask agnostic. I don't say to agnostics, is there a God? I say, do you believe in God? Now, you can't say I don't know to that question, because if you say I don't know, you're an idiot. What you don't know if you believe or not. And I had this discussion with someone on Twitter, actually, and he said, well, that's not true, because I can ask you, am I wearing a red jumper? And you have no way of informing your guess. And that's true. But now ask me if you're wearing a red jumper that created the universe. Now I can have a little guess. No. No, you are not. It's mental. If you throw a load of coins on the floor, no one arrangement is more amazing than another. And it's sort of like they work backwards. Because this is what happened, this is what we think is perfection. So we try and... We can't get around the fact that it's crazy, we've got two eyes. That's exactly where I put them. These are brilliant. This is exactly... If I was making a person, I'd make it just like me. And it's hard not to think there was a will to it. But there wasn't.
You know the Mark Twain quote about, it's so great that I have ears here to hold up these things, we have glasses, and these ears are just perfect for that.
Exactly, yeah, yeah.
And another Mark Twain
what's particularly good about that, it's a double whammy.
Yeah.
Because he's being sarcastic about evolution. And,
right.
But in a strange way, people should take the analogy of the glasses, because we know those glasses were made for ears. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's strange. We know that we did that, and no one would ever go, what a coincidence. Yeah. I just found these weird glasses on the floor, and they fit my ears. And that's what people can't get round, because they want to do that with everything. They want to do that with,
Yeah.
But wasn't it great when he made bees like pollen? You know, that was a masterstroke. I'd have just had flowers and bees. He went, no, I'm going to make them need each other. Brilliant.